What are some study tips for high school students who are struggling and want to improve? One mistake I made in high school was assuming that my teachers were always good at dispensing content in an understandable way. There's so much variance. Depending on your teacher, plague your teacher with questions before or after class. They're hopefully there to help you. Take notes during class. Take a picture of the board if you need to. If your teacher goes off slideshows, get copies of each lecture. Supplement your teacher's lectures with lectures from the internet. There's almost always someone online who's figured out a better way to divulge the info than your teacher. If your teacher is confusing or going too fast, let them know. Maybe multiple times. They might not realize. Look into private tutoring. Maybe your school offers it, or your teacher would be willing to help, or something online. A good tutor analyzes what you know, so they can teach at your level. Get enough sleep and eat right. Keep your brain running at high efficiency for efficient studying. This is probably the best advice on here from a teacher's point of view. Teachers are flawed. Class dynamics can affect teaching, and different connect to students differently. Don't let the teacher get in the way of your learning by blaming them. Instead, accept the teacher for who they are and work within that. The steps above are excellent. Take responsibility for your own ability to learn. You will surprise yourself, and you will probably find that you can learn from anyone if you're willing to work on your end. Study in short bursts. I remember a psych prof in college saying it's been proven that after 20-30 minutes of studying your brain starts to retain less and less information. So study for 20-30 minutes. Take a quick 10-minute break, then go back to studying. Yup, this got me through an intense fast track course. They combined 2 years into 6 months. I've never studied properly before this course and had to learn. 15 minutes with Baroque music in headphones and walking around reading my notes out loud. Quick water healthy snack break. 15 minutes again. This time, no notes but pretending to teach out loud what I just read. I also put up a white eraser board to teach. These are all proven techniques. Baroque has a pattern to help your brain process. Repetitive walking pacing keeps me energized and engaged. Talking out loud teaching forces your brain to not just absorbs, but to critically think about what you read. Edit excuse the poor grammar. Didn't think my comment would get that much traction. I just quickly typed it in the car on the way to dinner, without going into too much specifics. I went back to school for a healthcare program a few years after my bachelor's degree. It's normally a 2 years program, but I wanted to get it over with and did a fast track program. It was 6 months of classwork and 6 months of clinicals. They no longer offer this. The new license requirements is 18 months program. I barely studied in college. Just coasted by and did the minimum because I was young and impatient. I seriously did not know how to study. I paid for the program with my own savings during the recession, so I had more motivation to learn how to actually study before getting kicked out of the program. I have zero musical ability, so the Baroque music was just background white noise. Didn't distract me. If anything, I found it helped me concentrate on the slides and not accords. Don't procrastinate or take a break before doing your work. The second you get assigned homework, start it immediately after school. This one might be obvious, but it's something that helps me out. This is not exactly a study tip, but if you don't understand anything, no matter how stupid, never shy away from asking a teacher. Just to add on a little bit, don't ever get home and start to play a video game or watch some TV. You'll never get to starting your work. I did this a lot when I was in high school, and you'll see your grades slip. If you use flashcards, start with 2 or 3 and slowly add in more to the deck once you've mastered a few. I used to think flashcards didn't work because I'd sit there with a deck of 50 wondering why I couldn't remember any when I got back to the beginning. Maybe this is obvious for some people, but was a life-changing moment for me when a high school teacher recommended, like, oh, duh. I did the opposite. Start with 50 cards on random shuffle and narrow the deck little by little as I started to remember them. It minimized time spent studying easy cards. Then again, I studied mostly history and language, and that tends to be very interconnected. You learn stuff just by getting one wrong and reading the explanation. A change of scenery does wonders. No matter how amazing your desk at home is, studying in the library is way more productive due to social pressure and your brain knowing that you're here to study. Reading tips. Don't highlight for the sake of highlighting without giving a reason. At the end of every text you highlight, write a short sentence explaining why you're highlighting that part. 2 or 3 keywords works also. At the end of every chapter in the textbook, write summary of it that is at least a page long. If the chapter is broken into a lot of sections, write half a page for each section. Reading the summaries will help when test time comes, and you can reuse the summaries in your essays if applicable. Writing tips. Write your introduction last. It sounds crazy, but this allows you to restructure the essay. If you see it's not flowing correctly, use an outline or a brainstorm map, even if it's only a couple of words. Seeing your paper in the flesh even in the embryonic stage helps. Use the voice recorder app on your phone. If you get an idea for your paper or project and can't write it down at that moment, you're gonna forget it if you leave it for later. If you're not doing it already, write your papers in Google Docs. It saves per keystroke, so you don't have to worry about losing work if your computer crashes. Proofread your work by reading it out loud. If you can't have someone proofread it for you, you'll catch a lot of errors this way instead of just using your eyes. If you don't pay for printing, then print out a copy and go over it manually. Time management. Multiply 15 minus 45 minutes of work for every 15 minutes of rest. Start with this and reduce it the closer you get finishing your paper task. 30, 15, 45 etc. I use 15 million intervals. Use whatever you want. Homework organization. Start by doing your easier HWs first and scale upwards towards the hardest. The easier HWs will get you in the groove quicker than tackling the harder ones will. Going for the harder problems first already has you at a disadvantage and will discourage you from doing work. Edit. Thank you very much for the gold silver. Please consider donating instead to Backpack Programs link or help teachers get the classroom supplies link need. Additional writing tip. When I had an essay or paper due, I would finish a draft several days early and go to my professor's office hours. The prof would always read it through and give suggestions. Sometimes this would take a day or two, so it's very important to do this early. Then, I had plenty of time to implement those suggestions and get a perfect or near perfect score. When I'm trying to learn something, I pretend that I'm teaching someone, and for some reason this helps. Write notes down. There's something about reading notes written down by yourself, and it stays longer in your memory. Treat it like a job. Hit the books Monday through Friday 9-5. Work in the library, not your room or apartment. Don't miss a class. Work ahead during that 40 hours. This method worked wonders for me, and I never had to stay up late trying to cram stuff. When I'm trying to learn something, I pretend that I'm teaching someone, and for some reason this helps. It's because to teach someone, you actually have to have an understanding of the material, and it makes you think about it, rather than vaguely remembering that one fact. It's the same principle as rubber ducking for programming. Place your phone in another room while studying. There's apps that help you stay off your phone while studying. For example, one that grows a tree when you have the app open and kills it if you leave the app too soon. And eventually you can look back on the forest you've grown through your studying. Don't study in your bed. Go somewhere else to study. Desk, library, school, and don't be afraid to ask your teacher or academic counselor what they think you should do. Most teachers are always willing to help students who show they care. I like studying in a library because it helps me associate the two in my head. Library studying. Let's get shit done. Being around others that are studying also helps guilt me into being more focused. I learned from my experience that studying for hours doesn't mean anything if I'm not taking in stuff and really understanding things enough to the point I could explain it or describe it within some other example cases problems. So ideally finding the best way you learn and then sticking to it. Do you like to rephrase things to understand it or draw it out or other visual aids? Maybe saying what you think is important out loud is the way to go. Many options, but sticking by one or a few that suits you best and gradually working out how to improve. That process is probably a really efficient way to study than or reading everything and then trying to memorizing things over and over again for a long period of time. Find out how you learn best. I learn by writing. So writing distilling my notes was the best way for me to study for a test. You might need flashcards or a study buddy to talk through tough concepts or record lectures to listen to later. No use studying in a way your brain doesn't process. Learn how you learn and do it. Take breaks while studying. No monster 5-hour cramming sessions. I needed a break every 45 minutes or so. Walk around. Do push-ups or squats or yoga for 5 minutes, then back to the books. Breaks help decrease the monotony and give you something to look forward to. Have a trusted friend, elder, or teacher read your essays before submission. Seriously, another set of eyes can do wonders for coherence, flow, and thinking through concepts. This leads into make a plan. No more last-minute shenanigans. Write down due dates and work backwards, leaving yourself enough time to chip away at projects, papers, and studying. Talk to your teachers in those tough classes. They may be seeing you struggle and want to help, so reach out. Use whatever tutoring services are available at your school, even peers, and get the help you need. Sleep. Again. Sleep. In high school your brain is still developing. You need sleep to process all you are learning. 8 hours or more is recommended at your age. I know it sucks, but clean up your sleep hygiene. Stick with roughly the same bedtime and no screen time for at least an hour before bed. Exercise doesn't need to be extravagant, but make it part of your self-care routine. You can vent frustration, and it will help with sleep. Factor in time for fun. Just because you now have a kick-ass study plan doesn't mean you have no life. Long-term success means enjoying what you can, when you can. Make time for friends, family, pets, etc. Break the work down into smaller amounts. Make note cards or outlines. Rewriting the work can help you remember. It also can highlight brief facts that are easier to remember versus large paragraphs. Read it out loud. Find someone to study with. Study at the library or a coffee shop instead of at home. If you can afford it, get a cheap second laptop that is only for school. Do not install any programs other than what you need for your classes. Only use the laptop for school. Only do schoolwork on that laptop. These two things saved me. So for second language classes, Duolingo is a lifesaver. It makes casual study much easier. Also, Khan Academy is an excellent tool that I strongly encourage you use. I've never actually used Duolingo because of all the memes. Does it actually work? Edit. Wow, thanks everyone for your help. Stop being so worried about ducking up right now. You can fix it far easier than you think. High schools put so much pressure on you to figure out what you want to do with your life. But some college professors have told me that they were in like 2 or 3 years to a program before they found what they were actually passionate about. I switched from sociology to English, and then I remembered that I love history more than anything else. So don't worry about it too much. My dad didn't go to college until he was 45. Learn to plan. Like, really? Once you get the hang of it, you almost think, why didn't I do this sooner? Know what you got to learn. Get the hang of how long it takes you to study, and make a clear planning from beginning to end. Every subject, everything you need to learn. Set out a complete day. I'm serious. Planning is hard, but it saves stress, thinking, and lets you focus. You have to find out what you need to study for the entire year. For every subject. Find out when exams are and plan study sessions accordingly. Once you understand how much time is left, you'll enjoy life a lot more. You'll never feel guilty for not studying because you exactly know what to do. Don't wait for announcements. Don't do it by semester. Every single day. If you need help, I'll even help you. I just don't want you to feel guilty for not studying. Stressful for what might come, or think you might not make it. Discipline is hard, but once you do it, you can't stop, as the effort pales to the benefits. High school is one of your best times and you should enjoy it accordingly. Having your planner, you'll always enjoy the stuff available as you know that specific time is for having fun. Work before distraction. Edit at scheduling makes success. Not work or motivation alone. Work smart, not hard. All these mottos I'm still trying to get a hold of. Little and often 4-hour chunks. Not only do you remember information better if you revise notes, read textbooks, but doing it this way is less daunting and helps to build good habits. Combine this with the fact that writing anything down helps you remember it much better. Always test yourself on what you've learned to see if it really stuck. Exam questions and past papers are probably the best way to study topics you finished, as you're literally coming up against the style of question in the exam. Don't be afraid to ask teachers. They are literally paid to help you learn. Source: currently Oxford University applicant. I find that listening to music helps me to study. If I'm not, then I'm semi-concentrating on the world around me, which distracts me from my work. And if you're studying long term, then you could divide your breaks by when your albums end, if you choose to listen to entire albums. Have a 3,000 word paper due in a couple months. Count how many days you have left until it's due, and divide it by the word count. 3,000 words 60 days, a measly 50 words a day. Even when you stack a few different papers at once, you might end up only writing 100-200 words a day, which is nothing. Even better is to take off a couple days at the end solely for editing, so you are not writing up until the due date and can have some time to process what you want the paper to say efficiently. I'm in law school now and still write my papers this way. There's no better feeling than seeing a due date coming up and knowing you already have 2,500 words written while everyone panics around you.